Hey guys, what's up? This is Kento here, and I'm bringing you a video today on all of the 1.2 changes to the Jedi Guardian. It's gonna be some fun. Alright, patch 1.2, Jedi Guardian. What does all of this have to do with you? Well, besides the fact that I have some terrible rhyming, 1.2 is bringing with it a slew of changes to multiple classes, as well as a whole bunch of new content, both PvE and PvP, and is probably one of the biggest free patches any game company has put out. Thank you, BioWare. And not only am I thanking you for this patch, I'm also thanking you for allowing me to have my character transferred over to the public test server to try a lot of these changes out for the Jedi Guardian, so that I can make this video for you guys in the community. Now, there is going to be annotations up at the top or along the side to direct you further into the video for certain aspects of the Jedi Guardian, be it the defense spec tree or the vigilance or what have you. But I'm going to begin talking about the general changes to the Jedi Guardian no matter what spec you are. And let's start off with Awe. Q Zoom. Awe now no longer costs focus to activate, which is sweet. That allows us to save another one of our focus and can always be used out of cooldown now. Nice quality of life change, I would think. Moving right along, Dispatch can now be used on targets at or below 30% of maximal health, up from 20%. This is kind of nice. It speeds things up and makes Vigilance users with Force Rush that much more dangerous. I like that. Force Kick no longer costs focus to activate. This is kind of sweet. Saving another one of our focus and can be used out of cooldown. Big for those Guardian specs who have trouble generating focus. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there probably aren't having that problem, but it's nice for some of us who are. And next, Master Strike. Master Strike, if you've been following any of the forums at all, has been given a 15% damage increase. That is amazing. It is also no longer interruptible, so unwavering focus from the old focus tree is now free for everyone. That's kind of cool. I don't know about you guys, but I've been using Master Strike a lot, and this just makes it even better, and I hope a lot of you Jedi Guardians out there start using it a lot more. Alright, and onto a new ability. They have added Focused Defense, a new ability that allows the Guardian to spend focus to lower threat while active. 1 point of focus is spent each time damage is taken to heal the Guardian for a small amount. This ability is usable while stunned and not limited by the global cooldown. The details are right here in my little screen right now. Focus Defense, it's an instant. You get it at level 38. It costs 4 focus to begin, cooldown 45 seconds, and you can read that little text. With Focus Defense, it's a really nice hot for tanks. Not a huge hot, but it's a little hot for tanks at the expense of threat control. Though if you need it, perhaps you don't want that threat to begin with. It will also help the DPS Guardians for sure, and it's really fun in PvP. An important thing to note about this ability, guys, is that the healing effect costs focus. In addition, the ability itself costs a full 4 focus. So there's no benefit here to using this when you barely got enough to activate it, unless you really need that threat dump, or if you're really looking to try and get heal off and you know you can generate some focus in the next several seconds. So specs that can generate a higher amount of focus, this will be amazing, and you can take a huge advantage of it. Also, something that I've been playing around with, and I don't quite have the numbers yet, but I plan on getting this out there a little bit more. It has a really nice potential synergy with Inure, as well as the Rakata med pack. The whole, the 30% temporary max health from focus, defense, heal, and the 3.3% while Inure is active. I want to play around with that a little bit more. I will get back to you guys in a later video with that. But moving on to the defense tree. So the skill trees may look a little bit different, other than the fact that I have a lot of points available to me. Pay no attention to that. I respect just for this video. As you guys can now see, Blade Barrier is located in tier 4 of this tree. It's now where shield specialization used to be, and it gives you early access to one of the big damage mitigation skills for leveling. This will do a lot more for the late 20 Guardians than shield specialization ever did, and it's a great change in my opinion. Momentum has a nice change to it. Blade Storm no longer consumes stack of courage while the momentum buff is active. I mean, it makes sense, right? If it's free, it's free. A nice quality of life change. Command no longer reduces the cooldown of challenging call and is now located in tier 5 of the skill tree, as you see here. Now, where the force clap used to be, obviously a nerf, interesting that they would remove the taunt cooldown reducer. I know defensive guardians have been having a hard time keeping threat as is, and a lot have gone to the defensive vigilance hybrid spec, but I imagine this has a significant effect on PvP, but to me it's not as big a priority to take right now. Up next we have Dust Storm. It is now a 3-point skill that provides the same overall effect. It gives you a 33.3 chance for accuracy debuff per point. Won't make a huge difference to those that took this, and then 1 point momentum. Moving on, Guardian Slash now generates 50% additional threat. I believe that anything that makes the top level skill better is good. And this in particular will be useful for straight defense tanks in PvE. Moving back to momentum for a second, momentum is now a 2-point skill that provides the same overall effect. So it's a win for those that take momentum as an add-on for the DPS trees. You just got an extra point. Pacification is now a 1-point skill with a slightly reduced overall effect. Specifically, it now gives an 8% damage buff instead of a 5% per point. You can't put more than 1 point in, so defense loses damage overall, but on the other hand, this was a pretty inefficient skill, so the extra 2 points could be useful somewhere else, in my opinion. Shield Specialization is now located in tier 5 of the skill tree. It's where Stasis Mastery used to be. Stasis Mastery is now located in tier 4 of the skill tree, where Command used to be. Again, earlier access to this helps leveling Guardians. In conclusion, with all the defense tree changes, as expected, Force Clap has been removed from the defense tree, as well as completely removed from the entire PTS. As of right now, in 1.2, Force Clap will not be a skill that you train as a Jedi Guardian. The Vigilance Tree. The Vigilance Tree itself, I believe, has had a lot of great changes to it. Commanding Awe is now located in tier 5 of the skill tree. It increases the Guardian's damage reduction while Focus Defense is active. So it's where Protector used to be. Specifically, in addition to its 2% damage resistance, it gives you an additional 7.5% resistance per point when Focus Defense is active, making Focus Defense a massive bonus for Vigilance Guardians. Single Saber Mastery is no longer restricted to certain stances, a win for tank types that use Sorosu, as it was the only stance not covered. This could be a significant bonus for defense tanks who use a lot of melee-based attacks. Stagger is now located in tier 1 of the Vigilance skill tree, and the corollary is that Swelling Winds was moved out. To me, that's kind of a net loss, though the extra mobilization could be handy in PvP. Note that this swap means all Vigilance Guardians must take at least 1 point in Single Saber Mastery. I imagine more of them will simply take all 3 points of it. Sundering Throw is now located in tier 6 of the Vigilance tree. It's where Commanding Awe used to be, fits in thematically with Vigilance, which now has both the Sunder Armor buff skills. Zen Strike now generates 2 points of focus when it's triggered. This makes Zen Strike possibly worth taking regardless of whether you use Master Strike. Now me, I've been using this a lot, it's great, generates a lot of focus for you, and with the buffs to Master Strike, this is an ability, or rather a talent, that you should definitely look into picking up. Now, it's not been noted in the patch notes, but Protector has been removed. Much of the defensive buff functionality has been given to Commanding Awe's enhancement of Focus Defense, but there's no replacement for the Endurance bonus. Also, Unremitting's icon has been changed to what looks like a powered punch. In any case, it doesn't have the same icon look as Momentum anymore. Oh boy, the Focus spec. What could they have possibly done? Felling Blow is now a 3-point skill with the same overall effect. The effect now lasts 20 seconds, up from 15. The effect is buffed, but the skill now drains an extra skill point. Force Exhaustion's cooldown has been reduced to 18 seconds. Its overall effect is unchanged. Nice, though this is really just making up for losing Cypher. Along with the other changes, this means that you can start a new Force Exhaustion before your Singularity buffs even expire. Not that you keep those around long anyways. Hey, we're a one-hit wonder, right guys? Gravity now specifically affects Freezing Force and Force Exhaustion. Now, I'm not sure if this was a clarification or a reduction in power. I suppose you could interpret the original to include Force Sleep, but also keep in mind this will not affect Zealous Sleep now that has an immobilization effect. And Inner Focus has been redesigned. It now requires 2 points in Singularity and causes Combat Focus to immediately grant 2 stacks of Singularity per point. It's now where Unwavering Focus used to be. The icon is now the same as Combat Focuses. It should be much better. And you can immediately get a full stack of Singularity with Combat Focus now. Master Focus now increases the damage of Master Strike instead of affecting Force Stasis. The revised skill description is Master Focus, passive, 2 points, reduces the cooldown of Master Strike by 1.5 seconds and increases damage dealt by 4%. The icon is now what Zephyr's icon used to be, so rather than decrease the time for Force Stasis, it now increases the damage of Master Strike by 4% per point, along with the 1.5 second cooldown reduction. It is now a tighter skill with a focus entirely on Master Strike rather than giving a bigger benefit to Force Stasis. Those that use Force Stasis and ignore Master Strike will be somewhat disappointed, so I'm sorry about that, guys. Singularity's buff effects now last 20 seconds, up from 15, matches the increase in time for Felling Blow. Swelling Winds is now located in Tier 1 of the Focus skill tree. It increases the damage dealt by Force Sweep and Cyclone Slash and reduces the cooldown of Force Sweep. This is where Stagger used to be. The revised description is Swelling Winds, passive, 2 points, increases the damage dealt by Force Sweep and Cyclone Slash by 10%, and lowers the cooldown of Force Sweep by 1.5 seconds. Big win for the Focus tree, makes one of the vital Force Sweep buffs part of the tree progression. Essentially, Focus Guardians got 3 skill points back. Now the bad news, it only takes 2 points now, so you can only buff Force Sweep damage by 20% total. The cooldown reduction is still the same. Buff to Cyclone Slash makes this more appealing to general AoE usage. Through Peace, a new 2-point skill located in Tier 6 has been added. It reduces the initial activation cost of Focus Defense by 1 focus per point. This is where Sundering Throw used to be until it got moved over to the Vigilance tree. The details of the skill are, it's a passive, 2 points, and reduces the activated cost of Focus Defense by 1. The icon for this is Unwavering Focus's old icon. Now, how effective Focus Defense is for each Jedi Guardian varies and is very based on your own opinion, but now it's half off for Focus Guardians, given that the ability both takes 4 focus to activate and 1 to tick. Having more juice in your pool may be important. Could be a survival thing. Unwavering Focus has been removed from the game, guys. Now everybody has it, part of the Master Strike skill. No one took it this anyway, so it won't be missed. And for those who don't know what Unwavering Focus was, it's what made Master Strike uninterruptible. So hey, I think that's a general buff. As I mentioned earlier, Zealous Leap now immobilizes the target for 1 second. It's a nice little PvP buff. Keeps you in range for them force bombs. Zephyr has been replaced by Zephyrian Slash, which allows slash critical hits to have a chance to refund 2 points of focus while the guard is in Shi-Chou form. I'm very sorry about that. The details for this skill are Zephyrian Slash, passive, 2 points, slash critical hits while in Shi-Chou form have a 50% chance to refund 2 focus. The icon looks like 2 crossed lightsaber blades, and now this is a blow to the focus tree, as Zephyr's cooldown reduction was way more universal. This looks like an attempt to make Slash more relevant and synergizes with Swift Slash, more thematically attuned to the focus tree, but not as powerful. So, what are my impressions of 1.2 so far that I've been playing it for a while? Overall, these changes are useful. No focus cost for CC interrupts is a boon for anyone who is force starved, and the self-heal that a lot of people clamored for is a reality. Though anyone who is in it to be a tank sees the downside in using the ability and doing your job. Note that focus defense has both an initial cost and a cost per heal tick, so it will not do much for you if you don't have the focus saved up, and the specs that are constantly focus starved will not gain much healing benefit without saving, so it's kind of like a 50-50 situation. Either use it, dump threat, dump aggro, what BU, get healed a little bit, or you lose some DPS in order to gain a little bit of heal. Again, very situational. I can't wait to see what some of you guys do with it when it goes live. In terms of defense, it should be easier to level up a full defense guardian now. I know it was really tough for me because I leveled a full defense guardian until about 40 and then I switched to defense vigilance. But now some of the good utility skills have been moved to the lower tiers. Overall though, not a lot has fundamentally changed for the full defense guardians, other than the threat shift from command and guardian slash. With the removal of cooldown reduction for challenging call, full defense is now no better than anyone else in keeping AoE threat. On the other hand though, the boost in threat for guardian slash, the highest damage skill in the full defense arsenal, means you could be able to keep the attention of anyone you can whack, so full defense guardians may need to spread the love with guardian slash and use it as a high powered hilt strike against many opponents at once. The tree itself has been thinned from 40 to 37 points for the full spread. The chop points come from the pacification and the depreciated force clap, which has been removed from the game. A note I'd like to make though about the damage for full defense. With the changes to pacification, the damage boosting available in defense has been reduced from 15% to 8% for hilt strike, force sweep, and cyclone slash. You shouldn't despair, however. The extra 2 skill points you can get can be put into swelling winds, which gives back the damage bonus to cyclone slash and then some, along with force sweep of course. The change to single saber mastery is also a boon for full defense, which uses a lot of boosted melee abilities. All of your strikes, slashes, and reposit will be affected, making single saber mastery pretty useful. I suspect the standard full defense build will take advantage and put full points into both single saber mastery and swelling winds, like a 31-8-2 build, which will ultimately give full defense a little higher damage than before, thus a little higher threat. Now vigilance, losing swelling winds to focus is a loss, though you can always take it later since it's still tier 1. With the loosening of restrictions, I imagine more players will take full points in single saber mastery while climbing the tree. The magic for 1.2 happens, however, in the upper tiers of vigilance tree. Commanding Awe is now an uber skill, at least in my opinion. 4% damage resistance innate and 15% while I self-heal. Yes please. Sundering Throw isn't a bad replacement either, giving Vigilance more utility now that their defensive buffs aren't spread out across 2 different skills. You lose Protector in exchange, which gave a more effective defensive buff tied to Guardian Leap, but with the new Commanding Awe, you can have your defense up as early as 32, after Overhead Slash of course, rather than wait to apply a buff to a level 50 skill, and you don't have to go track down a party member to use it either. That's awesome. In addition though, the rising of Dispatch requirement is a major boon for Force Rush and makes Vigilance Guardians that much more dangerous, since now they can crit opponents at almost a third of their health. And Zen Strike's new focus aspect turns Overhead Slash and Plasma Brand into a mini focus engine for the chronically focused star Vigilance Jedi. Those that enjoy Master Strike can also go into focus now and take Master Focus for a damage benefit regardless of Zen Strike procs. Overall, good times. Now, with focus, a bunch of interesting changes here. The impression I get is that the Focus Guardian was subtly made a little less focus hungry and a little more well-rounded, but the loss of Zephyr will hurt. First off, the nerfs. Replacing Zephyr with Zephyrian Sword slash Majigger is a significant change given Focus's heavy reliance on force-based powers. The only power not affected is Force Exhaustion, which got an innate 3-second cooldown reduction. All the other force powers just got 3 seconds longer, including Big Mama, aka Force Sweep. The primary reason Singularity and Felling Blows were changed to have longer lasting buffs was likely in response to this, so that players would have some wiggle room to trigger their next slower Force Sweep. Force Stasis cooldown also is missing for the Master Focus, though given how long that cooldown is to start, that's not a huge loss. Also, Force Sweep just got a flat out nerfed in damage with the change to Swelling Winds. I'm sure the 20% boost to Cyclone Slash is small consolation for Focus Guardians having 10% chopped off their big attacks damage. There's brighter times ahead with the other changes though. The change to move Swelling Winds into Focus Tree is essentially a 3-point refund for Focus Guardians, who don't have to go into Vigilance for what amounts to a must-have skill anymore, and they don't spend any more than they did for Stagger. Also, the subtle change to Momentum makes it more appealing to Focus Guardians, who can now shave another point off to put somewhere else, probably Felling Blow since that takes an extra point now. Also, while Zephyr will be missed, Zypherian Slash is interesting for those that have Slash in their rotation. Given that Focus can also give you a 15% crit bonus for Slash, you now have a decent shot at occasionally making a Slash a 1 focus cost ability, in addition to its higher chance of crit. Master Strike also looks more appealing. It can't be interrupted by default now, and the 8% extra damage of Master Focus is more significant than a 3-second cooldown reduction. The other major change that could be a huge benefit, however, is Inner Focus. Now that it's been redesigned to give Singularity stacks, Focus Guardians no longer have to wait to throw down a full strength force sweep. With Combat Focus up, you can now jump in for a nasty Alpha Strike, such as Force Leap, Combat Focus, Force Sweep, and have all your big mama benefits running right from the start. This should be a nice perk for leveling full focus. As well, you can now pick up full Singularity stacks quickly as early as level 28, giving you twice as many opportunities to build Singularity before you get into Force Exhaustion. And last, I'd like to talk about the Defense Vigilance Hybrid build. With BioWare putting down the hammer to nerf some of other hybrid builds, notably the Sage Sorcerer hybrid engines, does everyone's favorite tank alternative hold up? In my opinion, it's a yes and no. As a playable spec, it's fine, though the playstyle is likely to change as the leapfrogging that is the basis of the spec is no longer effective. As an actual tank, I'm not as convinced it holds up as well. The first major change to address, Protector, is gone. It takes with it into the sunset Vigilance's 4% endurance bonus, as well as the important part to the hybrid, which is the self-application of the Guardian Leap buff. Aesthetically, I'm not sorry to see it leave. In my opinion, it was a clunky creation that added a selfish component to an ability that was designed to help others. As a practical application though, the buff was a larger portion of the hybrid's 20% damage reduction buff set with the longer 6-second duration. Removing it cuts out half of the reason to go jumping all over the place as the hybrid, which was awesome and fun, and since Guardian Leap no longer gives you a buff and is back to being a pure bodyguard ability. In its place, Commanding On now gives a 15% damage resistance buff when using Focus Defense, which is a 10-second effect with a 45-second cooldown. This gives Vigilance more situational damage resistance buff, which is a little longer than Guardian Leap's buff, but at less resistance and on a much longer cooldown. Guardian's Leap gave you a 6-second buff with a 20-second cooldown, so you could use it twice within the span of one Focus Defense use, for an overall longer coverage at a higher resistance. In that respect, the hybrid loses resistance by the numbers. Focus Defense is more flexible, however. You don't need to find an ally to jump to, and it doesn't alter your positioning. So in that respect, you gain a lot of flexibility and will find more situations to use Focus Defense, just not as often anymore. As for other changes, Swelling Winds moving out of the Vigilance hurts for leveling progression, but you can still take it in Focus with the points that used to go into Protector. So the hybrid standard build would now be 1425-2. Dispatch's higher health requirement boosts Force Rush for the hybrid just as much, and taking Single Saber Mastery is doable now and likely, unless Stagger's Immobilize is important to you. The interesting thing is, now that Blade Barrier is in Tier 4, you can actually have your defensive cake and eat it too. That is, you can now take Blade Barrier and Commanding Awe and have the indisputable highest defense for a Guardian, rather than debating whether Blade Barrier's damage shield is better / worse than the 15% damage resistance for Focus Defense and Unremitting skill being around. However, to do so you'll have to pay significant damage price, as though points have to come from somewhere. To take full Blade Barrier and Commanding Awe, you need to pull 3 points from some other skills in an already tight build. Is Blade Barrier worth no Swelling Winds AoE damage bonus? Well, 8% from Pacification? Is it worth pulling points out of Force Rush and foregoing your chance at big critical damage? I suspect many would say no. The same goes for taking Stasis Mastery in Tier 4. But then again, if you look at it more, since you get a 3-second cooldown reduction in Vigilance, taking Blade Barrier may make the hybrid a lot hardier. You have to give up 2 to 3 points somewhere else though, from either Swelling Winds, Commanding Awe, or Dispatch. Another lure may be the new Zen Strike focus bonus, which may elevate some of the hybrid's suffering while trying to generate focus. This too requires 2 to 3 points taken from somewhere else, so to do so you have to give up something like Swelling Winds and 1 point from Blade Barricade. At that point though, I suspect you might be happier just going full Vigilance and picking up Plasma Brand so you can get your full Zen Strike benefits. So the Defense Vigilance Hybrid as it stands is currently playable, and if you want it as particularly tough Vigilance Guardian, it seems fine. For PvE tank purposes though, there's a big drawback. The cornerstone of the new Hybrid's damage resistance focus defense sheds threat, so the more you use your damage resistance to tank, the harder it will be for you to actually tank, so to speak. Thus, for actual tanking purposes, there may be this uneasy balance between using your damage resistance and avoiding it to keep your mob's attention, unless it really turns out that you do enough damage to not make the threat dump matter. That, coupled with the boost that Guardian Slash got for threat generation, makes me think that full defense will now be the better spec for pure I need to hold attention purposes. Well guys, I think I've gone on long enough about the changes to the Jedi Guardian in patch 1.2. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, +1, tweet, all that great stuff. It's been fun. This has been Kento, and until next time.